Hello, everyone. I hope you packed a med kit because today we're going into a zombie infestation in Back for Blood, a game boastfully advertised from the original creators of Left 4 Dead. Now, if you've kept track of these developers, they made a game prior to this called Involved that didn't involve. It didn't involve at all. It's actually a title I still need to get to try out now that it's dirt cheap. I just haven't seen it in the wild for quite a while. But Back for Blood had a free beta that came out to test the servers and such, and I did give it a try during the weekend. And I was a big fan of Left 4 Dead. It had fantastic designed levels, gameplay, and teamwork. And Back for Blood is supposed to be this spiritual sequel, this Left 4 Dead 3. If we could use the license, this would be 3. And they're all reminiscence of Left 4 Dead, but the devs are clearly also trying to do new ideas, which justifiably, when you continue either a franchise or try to make a spiritual sequel to something, you both want to be familiar and reminiscent of the elements of that, but at the same time make it better, improve, and ingest some new ideas. Honestly, though, some of the problems I have with Back for Blood is a lot of lacking of those things, though. So, a lot of people probably don't really notice some of the things a lot of people likely take for granted when it comes to how Left 4 Dead is designed. Left 4 Dead has a lot of really good indications to give you hints and information without necessarily taking your time. There's a lot of audio and visual cues that help you get information you need to strive, and that's probably one of my biggest complaints with Back for Blood. There are not a lot of unique sounds for the special infected in Back for Blood, and there are no audio cues for them at all either. And you need to keep track of your own health. There's not going to be any visual indications that help indicate, it's like, oh, I'm about to die. Like, if you know in Left 4 Dead, when you're on your last pickup, the time world turns black and white, gray and all over. And you know when you go down this time, you're dead. You don't get that in Back for Blood. You don't. You don't get a warning. You gotta keep track of that. You gotta keep track of your number. You don't get any fucking actual visual help in that outside of diverting your eyes to the corner where your health bar is. And keeping track of special zombies have more problems than simply audio cues. But a bigger problem is even visual. So, you had very distinct special zombies in Left 4 Dead. They all visually looked different, and they all made sound effects in that helped identify who they are. These are both failed in Back for Blood. So, the idea they're trying in Back for Blood is that you basically have a special that's shaped a certain way. Like, let's use the boomer looking one, the big fat one. There are multiple versions of that one. There's one that has the charger ability. There's one that has the spitting ability of acid. And then there's the one that's like the boomer, and it blinds you and attracts zombies. They are all big and fat, and while when you look at the model in a non-threatening, stand-stilly, not panicked mode, you can visually see differences. But when it comes to having to deal with 10 to 20 zombies in your face, other special things blowing up, and them coming at you, you're likely not going to notice those subtle little differences. between the different models of them, and you're probably not going to know for sure which one you're going to be dealing with so easily. It was easy to identify through audio and visual in Left 4 Dead what specials you were dealing with. There was really no way you could possibly mix any of them up. It is so fucking utterly confusing to identify any of the special infected in this game. It's a nightmare. Like, and another problem is spawning them. Now, I think it is possible in Left 4 Dead to very rarely have duplicates of special infected, but I think it's very rare. Maybe even to a borderline bug problem. But in this beta, now it is important to note, remember, this is a beta, not a final product yet. Not a final product yet. But they are all concerning things that they need to address for the final game. There was a spawning problem with the special infected in this game. At most, I believe I've seen 4 of the giant arm special infected at this part where you like blow up a wall and went across a destroyed roadway area. Like there were like 4 of these special big arm zombies, and they fucking hurt. They do lots of damage, just one by itself, and having 4. And I saw a clip of somebody had 6 of them on the boat. 6 of them. 6 of them! They fucking were massacred! Like, it's crazy! There was a massively spawning issue with this. Now, what probably was the case, like I said, in Chaos, it's hard to really identify these fucking special affected, but probably what I'm assuming the game is doing is that's treating each variation of them as separate. So there probably were just one of each, in some cases with an extra dupe of another one here and there. And that's probably what the problem is, but that's just an entire theory on it. But obviously, that's a problem no matter what difficulty you're in on this game, because that is way too... Could you imagine if, like, 5 Left 4 Dead tanks came after you at one fucking time? Good lord, what a nightmare. Now, I do give them some credit on some of the mixed matching of a lot of the powers these infected have, all of the stuff that a lot of people have continuously used since Left 4 Dead. The spittle, the bow, the grabber that pulls you in, one that can drag you around. And they did say that they are going to have more special infected that aren't in the beta, so there are likely going to be some unique new ones possibly too. But there are similar ones that mirror some of the Left 4 Dead ones. I didn't get to play a whole lot because honestly it was hard to get really far in this game with randoms. There is not very good communicational skills in this game without a mic currently as it's set. As I said, that there are very bad audio and visual cues for a lot of things. Audio cues are very bad in this game, in my opinion. And I feel like that hinders either non-mic / randoms a lot more. Left 4 Dead gave you lots of good, useful information to survive even with randos. And I feel like randoms are having way too much trouble. And even from people's footage that I've seen playing like the harder difficulty with friends and stuff, from what I understand, like virtually no one has been nightmare mode in the beta, as far as I'm aware of. That is because the multiple spawns of specials that happen, which I'm assuming that will be fixed. If anything that I complain about in this is going to get fixed, it's likely that, because that I don't see how they could leave it like that. It just basically breaks the game. Like you literally need a miracle if you have way too many special infected at one time. But it's just what the hell? But the special effects are certainly one of my biggest complaints, that it is just hard to identify, keep track of them, and find where they are compared to Left 4 Dead. Now, other minor problems, these might just be more overflowing information, but they are still things I'm slightly concerned about. So, though adding more difficulty into the game through options, which I don't necessarily say they shouldn't, but I feel like they're overcomplicating the game. Left 4 Dead was a very simple to play, hard to master. Anyone could simply play it, but mastering it on harder difficulties than that took a lot of knowledge, teamwork, and good play. I feel like they're really polishing the game visually and aesthetically more than making tight gameplay like Left 4 Dead. Example, there are lots and lots of fucking guns. I mean, there are tons of variety of guns. On top of that, though, there's a rarity system, MMO rarity. Now, you can't carry guns into and out of matches. That what you find during a match is what you got for that match, and when you leave, those guns are gone. And that, so there's no rarity in collecting in this sense, but you'll find guns that are common, green, epic, and such, that have more, and obviously the higher grade they are, they have more advantageable stats in that. I get the idea of trying to add a little more random stats to guns and that, but I feel like this is adding too much information for you to, like, especially when you're playing with impatient players. It's like, I'm not gonna let you fucking look at your gun. I'm going by. Yeah. Because the guns are random and shit. The ones at the shops at the checkpoints are random. The ones you find in stages are random. They're all random. So you don't get to really choose much of what you go in with. There's only what the killer starts with, and that's what you're stuck with outside what you find. On top of having rarities, there's also attachments. Now, the attachments, I think getting rid of the gun rarities and just having attachments wouldn't be too bad, because obviously if you find a gun that has no attachments, so attachments are going to basically always be a positive addition to the gun. So, the first several attachments, you're just going to grab, and you'll probably find one or two more attachments throughout, so you might have a little time to consider in those. I feel like would be way better than, okay, so here's the first gun I got, then I'm going to compare to this gun, and then this gun, and then this gun, and then I also have to consider all the attachments I find, and attachments that are in my current gun, because I can't swap them into the other gun, so I have to also keep in mind whether I want to get the new gun that has no attachments, and hope I find newer attachments on it that'll end up making better than the current gun I have that has attachments on it, and they'll only better than that gun because if it has a little attachment on it. And it's like, it feels like an overload of things to consider. Admittedly, in time, once you're more familiar with all the guns and attachments, you'll negate a lot more of that thought process, but I do feel like it's a bit of an overload of information now. Just a little bit. It's a subjective opinion on that. But outside that, like, guns that basically work how you would expect them. I don't feel like the gunplay is bad. It works and everything. You aim down sights, you aim in in normal first person or down the sights and such. Like, I didn't have any real problem with the guns. You find type of guns you like, stick with them, it's good. Now, something that gets a little weird with guns is ammo. So in Left 4 Dead, there was just ammo pals that were just everything. They separated all the ammo in Back 4 Blood. Now, I've seen arguments for this. One is that, it makes it more strategic and challenging because your team needs to consider what guns everyone's using, and, so you don't hoard all the ammo and everyone starts getting in the fights, like, I need rifle ammo, boo, I need rifle ammo, and I can get that, but at the same time, it also has some problems. On one hand, you could end up in situations where you're not getting the ammo that you need, even though people may not be consuming all of it, because it is using RNG to make things that, and I don't know if there's anything in the background giving a good eye on like people's ammo count to keep that in mind. We don't obviously know how everything's generated, and that scenario could be possible. That would be one of my concerns. When you do it the way Left 4 Dead did, you just guarantee there's no problem there. Now, I would imagine the devs are likely trying to do this so people don't find ways to break the game easier by like everyone stacking on certain gun types. And I could get that. Like I said, I can understand that and trying to give some more challenge, but I feel like you're also, pardon the expression, putting a gun to people's heads and trying to force them to use guns that they may not necessarily want to. I mean, in Left 4 Dead, there was still some randomness to the gun types you would find in different areas, but overall, it was pretty free to let you get what you want most of the time. At least a caliber of a type of gun, whether it be shotgun or something Uzi machine gunny wise, that, you generally got a choice in that. Now, one thing when it comes to combat that I really didn't like is melee stuff. Melee stuff feels like a mess to me. There's no traditional shove system like in Left 4 Dead. Instead, your basic melee is just punching the zombie. Then you can also get an upgrade that gives you a small knife to stab the zombie. And then there are traditional melee weapons like they were introduced in Left 4 Dead 2. Like a baseball bat, a machete, an axe. And these weapons that you pick up feel like shit. The impact is like non-existent. And they don't really feel like they have a good, like the baseball bat you think would hit multiple zombies and stuff and swing them away from you and shit. It doesn't really give that kind of vibe, feel. None of them feel like they have any impact to me. The only melee weapon that feels useful is the upgrade to your punch that is a knife. It, for one thing, can kill zombies in one hit, while like a fucking machete and baseball bat need to be hitting a zombie like 2-3 times to kill them, which doesn't fucking make sense for a melee weapon that you'll always... Why is the knife that you'll always have on you once you upgrade to it fucking kill zombies in one hit? And you can get a card that lets you get health through that too. I mean, a melee, it doesn't have the wide swing as a baseball bat, but you're not hitting multiple targets really with the baseball bat anyway. It's just kind of weird. Everything's better than your punching, though. But I really feel like it's a terrible mistake to not have the shove, like in Left 4 Dead. Like, shoving was a way to get fucking groups off you, because there's running in a stamina system in this game, and let me tell you, if you get caught in a group of enemies and your stamina is gone and your friends are ditching you, like you're all running away to the next spot and you get ditched, you're out of stamina, and you just got hoarded by a bunch of enemies, you will quickly realize how shitty it is that you can't shove zombies. It is terrible. And I really hope they consider putting one in, but it being in beta, there's likely not going to be a lot of different changes outside of like I said, like the extra special zombies, that kind of thing I see being fixed. But a lot of the other things people complain about are likely not going to be things easily fixed or anytime quickly. But I really feel like the shove option being gone is really shitty. It makes your individual survival worse, in my opinion. But let's see. On the items, you have med kits and the defibrillator thingy-mabob that was introduced in Left 4 Dead 2, where you can revive a dead player. So that kind of thing keeps up. You got bandages and pills. And bandages in the med kit take the same spot. Or was it pills too? I didn't get to use a lot of medical supplies too often in that, so. But pills do work the same way they did in Left 4 Dead, where it's temporary health, while bandages are just a very small med pack kind of heal. Now, you do have Molotovs, pipe bomb things and that, and this is a aesthetic criticism, but like the Molotov the effect looks so horrible. Like, this is such a more modern game than Left 4 Dead. Why are the flame effects so terrible? They're so terrible. They don't indicate a very good area of this place. This spot is burning in raging flames. Do not enter. Like, compare the two. They look so awful in Back 4 Blood. I don't understand why it looks so terrible in the game. They do function though. Like I said, it's an aesthetic criticism, but I feel like, when there's a decent fire there, it's like, yeah, don't step there. Not a good idea. It's just so small and pathetic, and Back 4 Blood, it makes me concerned about people accidentally stepping in it in immense chaos by accident. It's just, Another thing that I think has a very strong contender of being changed is continues. So the campaign stage that was available in the beta had 8 checkpoints. In the original Left 4 Dead games, there were 4 in every act. There was 8 in this one act that's in the beta, which makes it feel really long. Now, they did add where you can start at any of the checkpoints you cleared. Yeah, okay, that's fine. The thing I think is kind of confusing is they added a continue system. Basically, like a old arcade game, when you have continues, game over. Like, that doesn't make any real sense to me why that's in this game. In Left 4 Dead, you could continue from the last safe house endless amount of times until you either won or you gave up. This, you get 3 swings and then game over, start a new lobby. Which is confusing when you give the option to start at a checkpoint in the stage. Why make an arbitrary life system of continues when you're giving, like, I can just make a new lobby and continue in that same area, and the only real thing you're affecting is all the guns and shit we found on our way to that checkpoint? Those are gone now. So we start from whatever scratch shit we do from that checkpoint, and the stuff we get in the shop at the safe house. That's all you're really doing, and that just seems pointless and stupid to me. I really feel like this is probably one of the things that will likely get changed, because I just don't get the point. Maybe someone has a better idea of what they're trying to do with it, but I think it's stupid. Like, if you're gonna let people continue anywhere at any of the safe houses they cleared, what's the point of making a system where it just boots you out and you're just gonna make a lobby and go back there likely anyway? Especially if you're with your friends. It's like, okay guys, I'll make a new lobby, I'll invite you. Like it treats randoms worse. Speaking of randoms, though, I did mention gameplay with this. So far, it is quite difficult with randoms. I've seen a lot of people complain playing with randoms as being very, very not well. And on top of that, one of the worst problems is people can't get into the games that are already going. Now, this is a problem Battleborn had. When somebody leaves, nobody can join. That slot is dead. And that was one of the reasons, in my opinion, Battleborn's versus mode was just fucking dead on arrival. Because basically, once somebody started leaving your team, it was a domino effect. Your team basically collapsed, and there was going to be no one to replace them. So, well, I'm not staying on this train. Leave. And the same problem is happening in the campaign and versus mode in Back 4 Blood's beta, which is just what? Now, this is, again, another thing I think that will likely be changed for the final release, because it is just stupid, really stupid not to be able to let people join a game that's already going. It's going to kill your PvP mode, because not only are people always not liking it, having people rage quit in a similar fashion like Battleborn is just going to make no one really play it. It's just going to be a mess. And the campaigns on the story mode are just going to be fucking annoying for randoms, especially if people continue to play really bad in the game. Oof. 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 But then there's the PvP, which is the most criticized thing that I've really heard about this game. So, in Left 4 Dead, for those who don't know, PvP was still in the campaign mode. A team would play a section of one safe house to the next safe house, while the other team's the zombie, and for each area they would do a swappy, and then at the end, whoever did the best score, which survival score is based on how many survivors get to the safe house and escape, or based on your distance if they died, or if everyone dies. And the zombies are based on hindering and damaging the survivors. And those scores are totaled up, and whoever did the best in both worlds wins. Back 4 Blood does not have in the campaign, which is the thing that everyone's really disappointed in, including me. I thought Left 4 Dead's versus mode was really fun, and that was one element I was looking forward to getting to play in this, and it's not a thing. And the devs, as far as I understand, are not having any plans for a versus mode in the campaign. With how many people complaining about this, good odds they might look into it, hopefully, in the future. But at the moment, the final release is not going to have it. What is in the game is this small arena that the human players are put in, and they have a Fortnite-like barrier that closes in on them. So the idea is that there were 3 matches, and the teams, like in Left 4 Dead, will swap places between the zombies and the human players each round. And the idea is basically, as the humans, to survive as long as you can, and as the zombies, to kill the humans as soon as possible. Now, there's technically no way to quote-unquote survive as the humans. You will eventually die. The barrier will close, and you will die. So, all you can do is survive as long as possible. So, whoever successfully survives the longest as humans wins. So, there's no real general overlapping of success from both sides, like in Left 4 Dead, where you would get score between being zombie and human going towards your overall score. It is simply whoever survives the longest as humans. So, while you are still incentivized as a zombie to do your best to kill them, it doesn't feel as rewarding, like showing you a score system based on how well you did in that. It just feels very eh. Speaking of which, a lot of results screens, both campaign and PvP, are pretty lackluster and buggy, putting wrong name and information in places. Like, somebody, revived someone, 15 times or something. Yeah, it was pretty sure that didn't happen, but okay, whatever's. Now, there are more characters than just 4 characters, and some of them weren't selectable in the beta. A controversial move, I think, personally, is giving a special power up. a special powder, power, a wing power, a special power to each of these characters. You can't transfer it to another character, so that kind of defeats the skin choice of the characters and ultimately makes you, I want to select this character for the powers that they have, which being people can only be one of each character means it's first dibs and suchy. And I think it probably would have been a better idea to let you select the kind of power you want and then select what kind of skin you want to be, because you could still make it where the power is individual. Like, you can't have two people with this particular power. You could still have that dynamic while not limiting people to a certain character skin. Not necessarily the end of the world. I don't think that's as big of a deal as some of the other things, but I think that would have been something, probably a nicer way to do it. But that one's just more of a subjective opinion. But I do feel like there's a lot of problems in Back 4 Blood's beta. Again, beta, not final release, beta. Hopefully some of the more extreme things get fixed. I really hope they can look into maybe doing some audio cues in a similar fashion to Left 4 Dead, having more prominent sound effects that the special infected have is probably a bigger, like, the music cue I don't think is the end of the world, but I think is really needed to heal some unique ways of it probably would make it even more useful identifying the different variants. Because, I mean, like, when you hear the smoke over the boomer, you know what you're dealing with. You know what's coming. But in this game, you don't have those defined characteristics of sounds coming from these special infected. And I think that's really needed. But there's so many of them, I'm not sure the best way to do all of them. So, but I think that's definitely something they need to look into. Because it gets a little tricky to be prepared for some of them, especially if they spawn too many of them, which again, I hope that also gets fixed. But I feel like in the end of the day, based on the beta, they're going for a lot more flashy look, along with feeling like those, look at all this new stuff, look at all this customization stuff. And like I said, I don't blame them for expanding guns and trying something more RNG with the stats and such. Like, I think it's a interesting idea to do, but I feel like the way they did it is too much of an overload of information in a game. You need to fucking be moving fast usually. You don't usually stop for 5 minutes to debate about the gun's stats and things. It just feels really iffy to me, and I don't know how to feel about it. Like I said, in time it could become more easy and less needing to compare and think about, but I don't know. I feel like they're making it too complicated. Again, like I said, for Left 4 Dead, it was simple to play, but hard to master. You had all the tools you needed, and it was pretty simple to play. But surviving, especially even on harder difficulties, required more knowledge, skillfulness, and clever wits. But I just feel like this game's going for way too much flash and a lot less decent game design. That's not to say it's terrible, and that's not to say a lot of these problems can't be addressed. They still have a little time before the final release to address a few of these problems, and in the long term, they could address many of these problems. But whether they will is questionable. Now, the one last thing to save that I think was probably the better idea that I have a minor complaint about is the card system. Now, the card system is an additional way to customize your characters. I think it's an interesting idea, and I think the reason I think the card system is a nice idea is you pick a card at the beginning of each part of the stages. It's not in the middle of combat or out there in the wild debating stats and statistics. You have a calm and safe moment to choose a card at each of the safe houses. And I think that's a much better design idea than having all this gun customization and rarities and attachments and shit. I think that was a lot better. Now, those people concerned there's going to be money transactional things related to these cards, and if they go down that route, it's going to be really shitty then, because there'll be people trying to get really good cards with money. Admittedly, it's for PvE, so, it's technically for your benefit as well, because PvP and PvE cards are separate. PvP has its own cards, and if there's if there's transactions on cards and that too, that brings up a big old pay to win argument there, because it's players versus players. But I don't think they need to put money transactions to these cards. But as far as we don't know if there will be money transactions in this game. But I think the card system is likely the better way for them to go without money transactions, please. Because if you do money transactions, that definitely will likely develop a much different opinion of the card system. Because it's like, it's always a $60 game. Like, I hate these cancerous systems to get more money out of you when you paid, say, like, when you're like a $20 game or free, that's different. But when you're $60, you can stuff your money transactional garbage down your fucking throat, man. What the fuck? What the fuck, man? But we don't know yet. As far as I know, there has not been any official statements on any money transactional systems in the game. Now, I would imagine they will likely add maps and things probably into the game that will probably cost something likely. They did address that, actually, in a multiplayer sense. A lot of multiplayer games with maps and stuff have a lot of problems usually when game developers make it where everyone needs to have paid for it. They did go on record. The route they will go on that is the host person, if they have it, then everyone else can play it regardless of whether they have it or not, which is a similar way that Vermintide did it, where the host of the match, if they have the DLC, everyone else don't need it in that. And I think that is a very smart way to go in these type of games, because a lot of fighting games and shit kill their online player bases when they make it, well, if everyone don't have it, well, then I guess you're in a smaller pool, or the game dies, or it's always just kind of But yeah, the card system, I think, is the better way to go with trying to customize stats and things about your character, the guns and stuff. I think that's a better route, because the way you get the cards is in a more calming moment instead of the enthrallment of battle. Because, it's kind of hard to debate over, like, say you find two guns and there's an attachment. You have to debate between the gun you have, these two guns, and this new attachment. And you got, like, 5 zombies and a special trying to kill you right now. It's like... And, of course, you got your teammates who, like I said, if they're impatient, they're really counterproductive to the gun system. Because, they run off and it's like, well, I'm here by myself, special zombie. Well, I'm dead. I mean, immediately rushing people is nothing new. Even Left 4 Dead had those type of people, but what are you gonna do? People gotta rush, people gotta go. Go, go, go. But those are a lot of my thoughts on Back 4 Blood. I wouldn't say it's unplayable. I do feel there is potential in this title, but I feel like there's more game designy things they need to do, and a little less special. Like, if there's anything they really need to work on special effects, is please make Molotov flames like bigger and everything. Like I would appreciate that personally, but outside that, I think like in the visual department, I think the game's doing all right. I mean, those things you can still minorly criticize, but I really feel like special zombies needing more distinct audio cues for how they sound and shit to note they're in the area around you and that, or to identify which variant they are, I feel like is a great point. Let people join a match that's already going. Very important. Your game is not going to survive very well with rando type people at all. You're going to only be dedicated team people if you don't fix that problem at all. But those are a lot of my thoughts on Back for the Blood. Back for Blood. In the end, based on the beta, would I say go buy this for $60? No. I can't. Even if they had way like double the stages than Left 4 Dead started with, I don't feel like this is a $60 experience at all. I can't recommend it for that. If you see it on sale, 40 might be better. We don't know what's in the final product, how many stages there are, what other extras that may enhance or hinder more issues than what we found in the beta. But on a sale, it might be worth checking out then, but unless they address a lot of these problems, in my opinion, I find $60 is a very tough sale, especially if they put microtransactions in this game. Please don't do that. Didn't you learn anything from Involve? Involve was probably one of the most microtransaction pieces of crap I've ever seen. It's literally why I never even bothered touching the game. Now I'm actually looking for a copy of Involve because, like, places are selling it for dirt shit cheap. Like, GameStop lists it for like $4, but it's never available for online purchasing on their website. Sometimes pickups, but I can't ever find it in a local sense in my area. But I do want to get a copy of Involved now, and it's like really cheap. I just gotta find someone who has it for really cheap. But that's a different subject. But in the end, like I would hope they learn from Involved to either be very lenient on the microtransactional stuff, because like that seriously harmed that player base and killed that game very harmfully. So, but we can only wait and see what the final release is like. But those are my thoughts on Back 4 Blood. Let me know what your thoughts, what concerns, or if you have any particular thoughts on the issues I had. Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time. Hopefully in a much better build of Back 4 Blood. If not, then I'm probably just going to wait for Black Friday or something, because, man, the beta was pretty rough. I get it's a test thing, but